for physical fitness, Jeff Tarbell.
Right. How you doing? Let's see if I can hear myself here. How are you?
We're good.
Everybody still treading water out there? Jeez, what a week.
A little bit of rain.
How about we get a little rain in the winter and we get a little spring in the spring, brothers? It is dumping out there. And for all of us that are avid, I was on a chairlift this week. Took about a half day off and did a little skiing, and one of the guys described himself as a powder chaser. And I thought, I'm going to put that on my business card. That's a good example. I just do around chase powder, and hopefully I don't get fired in the meantime. And that was his comment. I think, yeah, that's not a bad job.
That's a good life right there.
Yeah, powder chaser. So in the studio with me today, the guy to my left, his voice sounds familiar. Before you've been on before.
Couple times.
You introduce yourself this time.
Morning, everyone. John Fotorero.
Yep. So John has been tracking us around. Last time I saw him, he was giving me inappropriate texts up there at Sierra Tahoe. So I've moved him at least 6 feet away, so I can't read his screen from here. Like I said, I'm like who's the anchor man for the movie? I'm like Will Ferrell and Anchorman there. If you put it on the text, I'll read it. So 441140 is our text number there if you want to text us as well. And directly across from me, Kent Smith has also joined us from Comstock. How you doing?
Doing very well. Good morning, everybody.
And you can pull that closer to you if you want there, too.
Okay.
Just when you're not talking to, hi, Jeff. I was up late last night. So we've got a full show. A couple hours of something or another we'll cover. If you want to jump in today, 339-1140 and 1-800-920-1140. You can dazzle us with your brilliance or your BS. Either way, we'll take some of that, and you can text us at 441140. I hope that you listened to last week's show, but as I watch the news and I read the paper, clearly most of you did not, because there was a mad rush to get the final versions of the Kincaid artwork off the walls, because we all know when someone passes away expectedly or unexpectedly, their art goes up in value. And if you listen to last week's show, we were talking with Mark Drobny, who's an estate planning attorney whose clients come in and they list as one of their most valuable assets their Kincaid photos, and what they list, not photos, artwork or paintings. And they'll list these as, as valuable assets in their estate. And then Mark will pull up eBay and say, well, here's 19 just like it for $80, and they're going, they're unsold. So I'm not sure I would put a lot of fighting pressure with your siblings over the Kincaid artwork. So anyway, as expected, right off the news, they're coming off the shelves. I bought 6 or I bought 8. Okay. I hope they're not in your retirement plan, but anyway, that was my note from that.
Everybody's got their thing of value.
Little left, yeah. If you value it and you got the money, then you go right ahead. So we'll see how that works out. That's sad story. That guy really was a very successful.
Absolutely.
And most people will consider him a better business person than an artist. I mean, he was very, very good at marketing his widget, whatever his widget is, and he was phenomenal at it. So good for him. I mean, didn't end up too well at the end there for him, but he did pretty well throughout the process. So a lot of things going on. I used this during my show promo yesterday. Not a good week for business people and their mistresses, quote unquote. So I noted 2 stories out of the. I'm not sure I'm still not sure about the one about the guy from Best Buy. The Best Buy CEO quit. When I first saw that, I thought, okay, so Best Buy is having a lot of troubles anyway with just that kind of big box concept, and they're trying to change that. So maybe he's just decided, I don't want to do that. I'm going to quit. But I guess he had some other personal conduct issues. He decided he didn't want anybody in the board looking into his personal conduct, so he decided to step down. So we'll leave that to the imagination. And then the one I thought was the oddest was, and I don't follow college sports at all, but the coach from Arkansas, football coach from Arkansas, wrecked
You got a motorcycle, don't you, Jeff?
Yeah, I do. And this is why I don't carry around 20-something-year-old girlfriends while I'm married with 3 kids, because if you wreck your motorcycle with a 20-something-year-old in the back, people tend to find out about it. And you could say that's error number 1 or 2. Error number 3 is that you lose a $23 million job. And that's going to hurt as much as cracking your head on the concrete. In fact, you might want to just come out of that and hit the pole.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to answer the questions and get the insurance. So anyway, the 50-something-year-old with a 20-something-year-old and the lost contract. Not a good week for guys and their girlfriends, if you want to put that out there. So we'll leave that out. That's just too damn bad. You get what
He
you
said
get.
Hit the pole.
Yeah, you might want to go instead of swerving from the bridge abutment, swerve toward the bridge abutment if you're going to lose control there. Anyway, lots of stuff to cover. Hey, I've got all kinds of things. We're also going to do a little more in depth maybe than normal today with our FHA 203K program. And the reason we're bringing that up, and the reason I asked Kent to come in, and John just showed up. He was banging on the door. It was so irritating. We let him in. So there's no particular reason why he's here.
We got nothing to do. The snow's melting.
He's got skiing's over, and he would not quit banging on the door. He's crying like a little girl out there. We're like, just come inside and shut up. So we let John in. But we are going to talk a little bit about the 203K, and that is a program that and the reason I brought it up for this week was that I had a number of instances this week where potential home buyers are out there, and they're so darn frustrated, and there's just a tremendous number of articles and just information about people that have made the decision to finally come into the buying world and either come in for the first time ever or coming back into the buying world. And what they're finding is that it's a very, very competitive environment, and they're getting outbid by all cash buyers, either investment home or second buyers, and they need some kind of a credit from the seller for closing. They need a little bit of assistance, and they just need a little bit of time to kind of put all this together, right? And so, John walks in, makes me an offer on an FHA deal, and Kent walks in and says, "Hey, I'll give you, $10,000 less. I'll give you all cash, and I'll close in 15 days." And John needs 30 to do his deal, and we have to do an appraisal, and we got to do he wants to do a home inspection. So, whose offer am I going to take? Probably take Kent's. Take a little discount and just be done with it.
Sure.
So we don't have enough product for these people to buy, and the product that is really good, the homes that are really good, are getting snapped up by Kent because he wants a real clean house to move a tenant into. So what I'm left with is either I've got to shop, and hopefully I stab one of them and I get it, and that could take months, and that's what we're seeing, or I'm left with kind of the tier 2 home.
Right.
And that could be a home that did go into foreclosure, and the banks owned it for a little while, and it's, the previous owners stripped it. Maybe they took all the appliances and they took a few things, or it sat there and someone came out and stole all the wiring out of the heating and air, and or it was just an older home. Mm-hmm. It just hasn't been updated, and so now you're here with a challenge. Okay, I'm John. I finally found the house, Jeff, that I want. I mean, I'm in the neighborhood. I got an offer accepted, and I'm looking at this house, and I'm going, man, this is in the right school district. I like the size of the house. It's got a cool look to it. I would say 85% of this house is perfect for me. Here's the problem.
My wife doesn't like the
my
kitchen.
wife ain't coming in with me until I redo the kitchen and I do something with the carpets, and the roof looks like it's sagging, and whatever. And so even if that house is underneath. So John, let's say John's approved for $300,000. He finds one at $225,000. He's like, okay, it's like a home run price wise, and this home run neighborhood wise. But man, and I've got the money for the down payment and my closing costs. I'm good everywhere there. But man, I don't have $75,000 or even $35,000 to come in and either make it acceptable to FHA, so they'll finance it on it, or maybe it's just fine for FHA, but it's just like John said, my wife's looking at that going, that's a 1970s kitchen, dude. I'm not gonna. That's not for me. So today we're going to cover a little bit about what are those steps, what are those things you can do to take a house, and this also applies. And Kent's our 203 expert, not me. But if you have an existing house, we can have the discussion also, right, about doing an FHA.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So you're in your house, you don't want to short sell it, you don't want to leave it, you want to stay there, but you also it's time for a little TLC. So we'll talk about those things. And this program is called the FHA 203K, a couple different versions of it. And I'm also going to tell you about where you don't want to use the 203K and where it is overkill and where there are other ways to do things as well. So I know that there's a fair number of you, and I know there's a fair number of realtors and probably some of our competitors that listen to this a couple hours. So we're going to teach everybody a little bit of something about this program and how to get in and out of it. So sound fair?
Fair.
We do got a couple people on hold, and our text line looks like it might be working at 441140. Let's get to Bob. He's been patiently holding. Hey, Bob, welcome to Talkin Money. How you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
Good. What's happening?
Well, you're hitting it right on the head. I'm hoping you're going to lead right into it, Ben. But I'm trying to buy a house, but it's not about me getting outbid by another, small person like myself with all cash. I see me and my friends that are trying to find a home getting shut out by the corporate people. The same people that my government bailed out with TARP money are now blocking me from even being able to buy a decent home because they're all cash, and they're preventing the common person from being able to buy. Is this plan that you're going to talk about today going to make it possible for me to at least compete with them and get a decent house?
Well, the program I'm talking about is does not cover that topic. The program I'm talking about covers a property, a house that doesn't qualify because of its condition. Bob, what you're talking about is the same frustration that we hear every day, and that is that you have finally made the decision to move forward, and you have found it to be really a kind of an unfair or uneven playing field. And if I'm bidding against Bob and I've got all cash and I can close quicker, I'm probably going to get the deal. And so I don't know, Bob, that the people that are outbidding you are the people that were bailed out. These are people that have cash and are probably, did well on their own and didn't get bailed out. But the reality is we have other problems that are leading us to why we're not getting the amount of housing on the market. There's a lot of housing that's sitting there that is the banks are either afraid to foreclose on them or delayed foreclosing on them, or they're going into short sale. And the short sale process has taken a lot of the foreclosure out of the loop, right? So if you sell your house now as a short sale, it doesn't become a foreclosure.
Yeah.
So there's a lot there's a lot of stuff that's still sitting on the sidelines, Bob. I think we're going to see more of that come out on the market as the banks have finally decided, okay, look, enough is enough, and either make your payments or we're getting rid of you. And we're not going to wait a year to get rid of you. We're going to wait a month to start the process now. We're going to get moving on. So I think you will see more houses come up, Bob. But this program won't help you in that case. But I do think that there is some light down the road for you. I hope. Okay. I hope. And that's a good call. I'm going to put Bob back on hold. Let's give Bob some Gym Boys or a Talkin Money T-shirt, whatever he wants to do there. So here's the things I want to cover today. I do have some interesting discussion. So speaking of Bob's call there, interesting discussion going on about does Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac want to start considering a mortgage write-down? So rather than a short sale, rather than a foreclosure, do they want to? Is there some evidence that if they just cut your loan balance back, you would stay and they would actually lose less? Okay, so that's one discussion that's out on the table. There's some very interesting numbers coming out about the cost of home ownership versus renting. It used to be about 10% cheaper to rent than it would be to own. We'll talk about where that's changed, and that's good for homeowners and good for home sellers too. A little bit of news off of some technology stuff. A couple young kids made $1 billion this week. I don't know what you did between Monday and Friday. I was just shy of $1 billion. I might have been just shy of $1.50 actually, but I did not quite make $1 billion. I was trying. I mean, I was kicking like crazy,
every day.
It just did not quite work out. A little bit of political stuff. And what is this pile over here? Oh, yeah, the Buffett tax. We'll talk about that, too. The tax on multimillionaires, and we'll see how that's going to save us money. I got a couple quiz questions today. We'll start with that one, as a matter of fact. Where is it here? Here we go. So this is 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. The Buffett tax, as they refer to it, which is a tax that would raise, about $46 billion, with a B, over a 10-year period. If they increase the taxes to 30% on the 30% of the millionaire's tax would raise $46.7 billion over 10 years. Okay, that's one of the things they're talking about doing. They call it the Buffett tax because he pays less than his secretary. Remember that whole discussion? Okay, so if we had all $46 billion in our hand right now, this is our quiz question. So we remember it's going to take us 10 years to collect this. So let's say we got it all today. $46.7 billion in our hand right now. We hand it to the federal government. We go, here you go. Nice job. You screwed the rich. How many days would that $46.7 billion fund our federal government? 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. You can text us at 441140. I've got some Hellwig gift certificates. I've got some Jim Boy's tacos, cupcakes. What else? Oh, yeah. And the big... It's Saturday morning, and I'm a little bit out of it. And the IMAX movie theater, too, is passive. Thank you very much. Your choice, 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140, or you can text us 441140. How much would $46.7 billion, how many days would that fund the federal government? We'll be right back.